Good night, everyone. It's Shaniza again with His Kindness Foundation. As usual, we want to make sure we bring to you guys educational information. We want to make sure that we're having the conversations that the church refuses to have. And one of those conversations is teaching you how to invest your money, how to be a good steward over what God has given you. And so we have the privilege and the honor to have Miss Terry with Invest with Terry with us tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stay on too long. I'm just going to throw the ball into her court and let her go ahead and teach us how to invest. I'm excited. All right, it's all on you, Miss Terry.
Wonderful. Well, hello, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here, and I'm so thankful for Shaniza and His Kindness Foundation for allowing me to be a part of the conversation. And as she said, so many times we as Christians don't really talk about finances. It's not something that we speak about in the church. But I'm so excited to actually talk to you all today and shine a different light. We're actually going to go from scripture to talk about how to get more money, more power, and more freedom, and what the Bible actually says about that. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and then let's get started. All right, so you should be able to see the screen. And here, let me make sure that you also see me. Hopefully you guys can see me in the corner here. And let me well, hopefully you can see me in the corner. And I'm going to make my screen larger. And Shaniza, can you see my presentation? Are you able to see that okay?
Yes, everything looks perfect.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, guys. So as we just said, a lot of people want to know about how to get more money, more freedom, more power. And so my name is Terry Ijeoma, and I will actually talk to you about that today. So what you're probably wondering, and here, let me move my video so you can see my slides. But what you're probably wondering is, who is this girl? So who is Terry Ijeoma? And then how do I get more money, more freedom, more power? If that's you, you're in the right place today. We're going to talk about it right now. So my name, as I said, is Terry Ijeoma, and I'm an investor. I'm a day trader of stocks and options. And I shouldn't just say a day trader, because some people, put day traders in a box like, oh my God, you trade in and out of the stock market every day. But the thing is, I actually trade on a daily or weekly basis. So I can be a day trader or a swing trader. I just trade often so that I can get regular income. When I was leaving my job, I needed to make $300 a day in order to quit my job as an assistant principal. And I was able to do that. So I quit my job, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this picture in a second, but I quit my job and started traveling around the world and trading full time. But what a lot of people don't know is I was also ordained as a licensed preacher. So I'm ordained as a minister, and I can preach. And so this is me at my church getting licensed and getting my ordination at Concord Church in Dallas, Texas. And you might say, well, Terry, I don't get it. Like, that doesn't really mesh. Like, how did you go from ministry to money? Like, where did that happen? Well, I've always actually had money and ministry on my vision board. So if you look over here, this is my vision board from 2014, so 5 years ago. I had all these dreams up top about being an investor. Like, I just had a passion for money. It's not so much, how they say, you can't be a lover of both God and money. It's not that I loved money. It was just something that really came naturally to me. I liked seeing my account grow, and it was just fun. It was a passion. So I liked investing. And you'll see up here, I was in real estate. So I'm a real estate broker, and I was helping clients with real estate. And then also I was investing in the stock market. So all this up here on my vision board was about money and finance. And then all this at the bottom was about ministry. I wanted to become a spiritual millionaire and be able to save 1 million lives and preach the gospel to over 1 million people. And I just figured that'd be awesome because I have so many treasures in heaven. So my vision for my life for a long time has always been to be an anointed investor. But I didn't really see that come into play because I didn't really have a whole bunch of money. So it was more so just heavily ministry focused until 2016. One of my friends passed away, and he was only 31 years old, and it was like a fluke accident. He had pneumonia, and the medicine they gave him, he was allergic to. So he passed away just like out of the blue. And I was, at the time, I was working at a school as an assistant principal, and I was like, you know what? Life is too short to be in a place where you're not passionate about it. And so I remember writing in my journal to the Lord, Lord, if I could do anything, I want to just trade and travel. That's what I wanted. So guys, I got serious. In 2016, I decided, you know what, I'm going to take some classes for trading. I'd been trading about 9 years. I've been trading now 9 years. So since 2010, I had been trading, but I hadn't taken it really seriously until I decided to take some classes and go to school in 2016. So got serious. You see me here. And I actually was able to quit my job later that year and start traveling around the world full time, as I told you guys before. So this is a picture of me in Australia. And Australia had always been on my bucket list. I finally made it. I traveled to over 9 countries. I was gone most of the year, and it was just the biggest blessing from the Lord ever, because I actually felt like I was living out my dream and passion, and I was also just stepping out on faith, and he just grew me in so many ways. So this is me in Australia. So that's who I am. That's a little bit more about my background and who I am, Terry Gioma. But now let's talk about you, and let's focus on how do you get more money, more freedom, and more power. So I could easily do a workshop that was just based on stocks. And I could tell you how to make $1,000 a day, which is what I focus on in my online course. I teach my students how to make $1,000 a day, and they are killing it, y'all. Like, they've been sending me emails lately. They've been making $2,500 a day. And I'm like, wait, we were on 1,000 and you making 2,000. But so I could easily teach you about stocks. But what I found is when I talk about stocks, but I haven't addressed your mindset first, then we miss the boat. And I saw that happen, actually. I had my class. We do weekly coaching calls, group coaching calls. I met with them one time for one Monday, and I told them like this really great setup. So I look at charts in order to trade, and we looked at a chart of this one stock, and it was just beautiful. I told them, okay, this is where you get in, this is where you get out. And so that later that week, I took the trade. We had set it all up that Monday. So I took the trade, and I was so excited because, as you can see, that day I made over $16,000 on the trade that I had worked on with my students. So this is me, and I put online. I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I made over $16,000 today. But the more exciting thing, though, is I was excited for my students because we had done this trade in class. So I'm thinking, oh my God, if I made $16,000, how much money did they make? I know that they made a lot of money. But you guys know what? I went and asked them how much they made. And do you know that no one took the trade? I was devastated because it's not like this knowledge is not just for me. I want to give it out to my students. And for them, like, I gave them everything they needed, but they didn't take the trade. And you guys know, I prayed about it later on that evening, and I talked to the Lord, and I was like, Lord, like, did I do something wrong? Like, am I not a good teacher? What is going on? And he told me, Terry, you're not the first person to teach and give, and then the people not take what you've given them. He said, I do that all the time. I give them wisdom, I give them resources, I give them support, and they never take initiative to actually use what I've given them. They just sit on it, or they hide it. And so my question for you all today is, have you been hiding God's talents? And talents can be anything. In the Bible, it was talking about money, but it could be money, resources, real talents. Have you been hiding them? God's given you some really great gifts, and you've just been sitting on them. So today, we're going to talk about it. We're going to look at Matthew chapter 25, verses 24 through 28. And we're going to actually talk through what it looks like to hide God's talents and then what he really wants you to do when you actually use the talents well. So let's take a look at that real quick. This is Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 through 20. I think right now the whole parable is chapter 14 through 30. But let's look at this part first. So I've put it out here for you. So it says, for it's just like a man, this is the parable of the talents. For it's just like a man about to go on a journey who called his own slaves and entrusted his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, each according to his own ability. And he went on his journey. Immediately the one who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them and gained 5 more talents. In the same manner, the one who had received the 2 talents gained 2 more. But he who received the 1 talent went away and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time, the master of those slaves came and settled accounts with them. The one who had received the 5 talents came up and brought 5 more talents, saying, Master, you entrusted 5 talents to me. See, I have gained 5 more talents. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful slave. You were, and some versions say, Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter in the joy of your master. So let's look at a couple things here before we keep going with reading the text. But you know how we just talked about, I gave all this information to my students, and then they just sat on the information and did nothing? It's kind of similar to this slave here who got the 1 talent and then went away and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. And so my question for many of you guys is, are you hiding God's talents? Has he given you something, a vision, a birth, anything, a gift, and you're just sitting on it? And the same way with investing, if I give you all the knowledge in the world, but you don't take initiative or you're too afraid to actually move with it, then we've lost our way. So that's why before we can even talk about investing, we have to talk about the mindset. So let's finish reading the text and then let's get into this. So verse 24 says, And the one who also had received the 1 talent came up and said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. And I was afraid, and went away and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours. But his master answered and said to him, You wicked, lazy slave. You knew that I reap where I did not sow, and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have put my money in the bank, and on my arrival I would have received my money back with interest. Therefore take away the talent from him, and give it to the one who has the 10 talents. Any of you guys feel like God's been taking some stuff away from you? I wonder if it's because you haven't been using it correctly. But we're not even going to go there, just something to think about. All right. So in this talk, we want to talk about how do we stop hiding God's talents? How do we use it to the best of our ability? And even better than that, what are the characteristics of a successful investor? So many times in text, we focus on the one who didn't do things right. But today in the text, I want to focus on the one who did do things right. So instead of just thinking about the servant who went and hid the 1 talent, I want to talk about the servant who had 5 talents, went, invested it, and got 5 more. So let's look at the characteristics that made him so good. And why is this important for you right now? Because as we said, until your mindset is correct, you won't be able to reap the harvest of investing that you really can see. So I want to make sure that your mindset is right so that you can take initiative and actually join us in this movement to build wealth. So what is the first key to the successful investor? The first key is initiative. You have to be able to take away your fear and just have initiative and immediately start going after building wealth and investing. And how did I find that? Because in the text, it says that successful servant, he immediately went and started. So here in the text, immediately the one who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them. And remember, as soon as the master gave him 5 talents, the Bible says immediately he went and did something with it. So guys, that's step number 1. If I give you information and we give you through His Kindness Foundation, we're giving you all this knowledge over the next couple of months. You're going to see things about investing. You see things about building wealth, money. You'll also see things about being just a better human being. You have to take that information and immediately go do something with it. In order to be a successful investor, you have to have initiative. All right, so that's key number 1. What's key number 2? In order to be a successful investor, the next thing is you have to invest. So he had 5 talents and he was able to get 5 more. But what does the Bible say he did to actually do that, to double his money? The Bible says that he traded with them. So he went and he invested the money. Some of us we think the best way to increase our income is just to go and put it in a savings account and then it'll have a little bit of interest. And yeah, that's one option. But what God is saying here is, you know what? If you have 5 talents, or this scripture here is saying, if he had 5 talents, he went and he invested it. He actually did some things with that money to make it grow. And so that's what a successful investor does. You immediately take initiative and you actually invest the money into some things that will grow your wealth. All right, so that's number 2. And guys, I forgot to tell you how much a talent was back in the days. So I looked it up. A talent is worth about $1 million today. So one talent back then would have been worth $1 million. So when that servant got 5 talents, it was like his master gave him $5 million and he was able to double it and make it $10 million. And that one who went and hid the talent, he got $1 million, but instead of making it $2 million, he just kind of sat and hid the $1 million. All right? And so on that point, if you, yes, we want you to trade, we don't want you to hide it, but the key is you also can't be afraid. And I know that fear is really what's holding many of us back. The reason why we don't go invest, the reason why we don't try to work in the stock market is because we're afraid that we'll lose it all. And that's what the last servant was, right? When the Lord asked him, well, why didn't you go do anything else? He literally said, I was afraid. In verse 25, I was afraid. And then what does God say? God says, why were you afraid? You know that I reap where I do not sow. And let's break that down. What does that mean? When God says that I reap where I did not sow, can you imagine? So usually when you're a farmer, you have to sow seeds in the ground and then they grow and then you're able to get your harvest. But God says, I'm such a big God that I don't even have to sow a seed. I can create things out of nothing and they will already be. So that's what he means when he says, I reap where I did not sow. You could have went and tried. You didn't have to be afraid because I'm a God that has all resources already. I can speak and things come into creation. God spoke and the world was as it was. He spoke and there was light. He spoke and there was water. So no matter what we do, there's no way that we can fail to a point where God can't recreate it or God can't make it come back to be. He's a God that reaps where he does not sow. Like he can snap and things will be. He has resources upon resources that he can pour into our lives. So we don't have any reason to be afraid. What does the Bible say? Another scripture says, I've given you a spirit of power, of self-control. I have not given you a spirit of fear. And we can have that comfort and have that confidence because we have a God that has that has resources upon resources and money on mountains, and he is a rich and wealthy God, and he can reap where he does not sow. So there's no reason why we should be afraid to go out and invest and actually implement the talents and treasures that he's given us. He wants us to go and multiply what he's given. There's no need for us to hide it under a rock. Okay? So I'm going to keep going, but there's no need to be afraid. And the last point of the last characteristic of a successful investor is increase. And so what do I mean, Terry? Terry, what do you mean by increase? That's not a verb. Everything else has been a verb. You know, you trade, you take initiative. Increase is not a verb. But here's the thing. When you take initiative, when you trade, these are the results. God tells that servant, well done, good and faithful slave. You are faithful with a few things, and I will put you in charge of many things. Enter in the joy of your master. So when you do take initiative and when you do invest your money, then God will see that you are being faithful over a few things, and he will multiply it. So that's how you get more money. That's how you get more power. By taking initiative, investing, and being faithful over what God has given you. So let's just real quick do a check for understanding. So does this make sense? The successful investor, and this is the slave that had five talents, and also the slave who had 2. Sometimes we compare ourselves, oh man, she has more than us. But no, whatever you have, you are supposed to work with what you have. You know, whether you have 5 talents or 2 talents or 1 talent, God's entrusted you with those things. Just be faithful over those few things. But he took initiative to invest his money, right? This is a successful investor, and that led to God giving him increase. And then another way to say that, let's say it one more other way, he was faithful over a few things, and then the master put him in charge of many things, and he was allowed to enter into the joy of his master, which translated one more time is more money led to more freedom, which led to more power. Do you guys see that? So this is how you have more money, more freedom, and more power. By taking initiative, by investing your money, and by being faithful over a few things. And then God will come in with his resources and his increase and multiply it. Now, the question for you is, are you ready for some increase? I told you guys in the beginning that I teach my students how to make $1,000 a day. And I actually did a challenge to prove this on Instagram. And I'll show you some of the results that I received. So I said, okay, well, we're going to do $1,000 a day. And this is what happened. So I did a first 5-day challenge. I made over $3,000 on Monday, over $1,500 on Tuesday, over $3,800 on Wednesday, over $1,100 on Thursday, over $4,400 on Friday, and I ended up ending that week, and this is all trading in the stock market, I made over $14,634 in that week, and my initial challenge was only $1,000 a day, which would have been $5,000, but I made over $14,000 that week. Then the next week, I decided to keep going with the challenge. I didn't tell anybody, but I did. And I was at a conference, and we had very low Wi-Fi, and we were busy all day. So I said, you know what? I won't be able to trade that often, but let me just see if I can still make $1,000 a day. And this is what happened. So I made $1,000 over $1,000 that first day. I made over $14,000 that second day. I decided not to trade at all on Wednesday. I was just too busy, and I didn't want to lose money. Then that Thursday, I took a small loss. And for me, this is small in comparison to what else I was making, but I would rather make a small loss, and I teach my students this. It's all about how you manage your losses. You can't make a lot of money unless you learn how to manage your losses. So I decided to take a loss this Thursday so that I wouldn't lose too much for the week. And then that Friday, I made over $5,000. So for the total of the week, I made $6,275. And guys, I actually only traded a total of about 4 hours. I won't even say it was 2 hours total this whole week, and made $6,000. And I can teach you how to do that in my class, my trade and travel class, but I teach you how to read charts so that you can limit the time that you're using to actually trade. A lot of times with long-term investing, you have to do fundamentals and you're doing a lot of research, so it takes a lot of time. But when I teach you how to read a chart, you can easily know when to get in and out of trades and just be checking your phone as you're going to do different things throughout the day. So that's how much I made that week. And then the next week I kept going. And you can see here, I was flying back from Orlando, so I took a break on Monday, made some money during the week, took another break on Friday. So I ended up making $3,727 in just 3 days of trading that week, which is still over $1,000 a day. And one of the biggest reasons why I started trading was to have freedom and travel. So you can see I did just that this week. I had freedom over my schedule. I decided I'm taking some days off. I traveled and I still made pretty good money. Like back in the day when I was a teacher, this would have been almost what I made my whole month salary. So if you're interested in learning more about how to invest in the stock market, I'd love to be your teacher. I have a course called Invest with Terry is the Whole School. I have a course called Trade and Travel, and that's for intro investors. So we have intro to the stock market, risk management, technical analysis, which is where I teach you how to trade stocks. And then our last class is advanced strategies. So that's our intro course, which I think everybody should take. No matter what you're doing, you need to learn that skill. And then if you feel like you want to go even more in depth, like maybe you've been trading before, then we also have a VIP program. And that one is actually, the intro is $2,000. The VIP program is $5,000. It has personal coaching from me. And guys, when I went to school and learned how to trade, my classes were $20,000 per class. Like that's how much this investing information usually costs. It usually costs $20,000. But I want the masses to have it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to knock 90% off of that. I'm going to give my course away for $2,000, and we're just going to knock the socks off the world and help everybody learn how to invest and become wealthy. So I would love to have you in my class. One way to access and learn more information is to text INVEST1 to 44222. And actually, if you do that, you'll get a discount. But another way you can get a discount is to click the link on this page. Shaniza has with his Kindness Foundation, she has a link for you to go straight to the course and get the course online. And another way you can do it is access iTradeandTravel.com. But the easiest way is to click the link through Shaniza and get the program. So it has been a pleasure to talk to you today, and I'm here and glad to be a part of this organization. So thank you for having me, Shaniza. I will kick it back to you. I'm going to stop sharing and kick it back to you.
All right, that was awesome, Miss Terry. If you give me a quick moment, let me share the link. And if you're watching this on YouTube, guys, just go to the description section and you'll see the link in the description of this video.
Yes.
Give me a quick moment. Just add it. And then also, did we have any questions while I'm pulling up the link? Did we have any questions, guys?
Some questions that I often get, and so I'll answer these just in case anyone was wondering. Sometimes people ask me, well, Terry, how much does it take to get started? When I first start coaching everyone, I actually share a simulator with them so that they can start practicing with fake money. And I think that's really important. When you first jump into investing, you should practice on a simulator until you're good, and then you can start practicing with your real money. So you actually don't have to have any startup capital to start learning the skill. And this is one of those skill sets that you can take throughout your life. So if I teach you how to make $200 a day, that's an extra $1,000 a week. But over the course of a year, that's $48,000. And I'm taking out some holidays, right? So that's $48,000 I've taught you how to make, but you can make that for the rest of your life. Every year going forward, you can now make $48,000. So yeah, this investment of $2,000 to get started is super small when you look at the whole investment and amount of money that you can actually make. Another question. Yeah. Another question that I often get is, Terry, how much time does it take? So the online course is actually an online recorded, like I've recorded 4 different classes, and then there's modules within each class. So you can take your own time, like whatever pace you need to go through to take the class, and you'll have lifetime access to the class. I personally think, though, that you could get through each course in 2 weeks. And after the first 2 weeks, you're trading. So like part of your homework assignment is send me your trades and let me look at them. So if you do 2 weeks for every course, you can get through the full course in 8 weeks. So that's a pretty quick time frame to start turning around and making money. And I have lots of students that send me their reports. They've been making money and they're not even done with the class. So they're like 3rd weekend and they're making $2,000. So you can make money really quick in any time frame. And then if you're wondering, well, how much time does it take during the day? I told you I like to trade and travel. So
Miss Terry, it's like it looks like your internet is going out. Can you hear me?
Oh yes, I can hear you, but you're frozen. Okay.
Hello there, Terry.
Okay.
I think I may have lost you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you. Your picture's not moving. Okay, now you're moving. Now you're back. Can you see me?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like it's saying that our network bandwidth is low.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we can stop there, but if anyone has any other questions, just send them to Shaniza or put them in the Facebook group and I can answer them for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Miss Terry. Tonight was good. You taught this thing like a minister. I had a few amens, and I was like, I need to go ahead and shout somewhere. I was like, okay, that was good. That was like going to church for real. It really was.
Amen.
So God has truly anointed you, not only to teach investments, but to preach, because you preach this thing. I mean,
No.
you gave me a whole different perspective on that scripture. I was like, I need to go back and study that thing out again. So that was wonderful. That was really good. Well, thank you so much, Miss Terry. Once again, guys, the link is in the chat box to sign up for Miss Terry's program. And then also, it will also be if you're seeing this on Facebook, if you're seeing the upload on Facebook, just look down in the comments. The link will be there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll just be in the description. All right, but it's been a pleasure. Thank you again, Miss Terry, for gracing us with your presence and teaching us not only about investments, but about the word. And I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so